What quietly happened inside the Patriots offense might end up being one of the most important moves of the entire offseason, and surprisingly, it's not getting nearly enough attention from the national media. While everybody keeps focusing on Drake Maye, the wide receivers, or the future of the defense, the Patriots may have just revealed exactly what kind of offense they want to build in 2026 with the signing of Reggie Gilliam. And the more you look into it, the more this move feels intentional, because this is not just about adding another blocker to the roster. This is about Josh McDaniels bringing back an old identity that Patriots fans know very well. The fullback position is officially back in New England, and if you've watched Patriots football long enough, you already understand why that matters. When Josh McDaniels has been successful in New England, there has almost always been a real fullback involved in the offense. Patriots fans remember James Devlin. Some remember Patrick Pass. Others remember Jacob Johnson. Those players were never stars in fantasy football, but inside the offense, they changed everything. They controlled matchups, helped the run game, protected the quarterback, and gave the offense a physical identity that opponents hated dealing with. Now the Patriots are trying to bring that back with Reggie Gilliam, and what makes this even more interesting is that Buffalo Bills fans were reportedly upset when New England signed him away. That alone tells you how valuable he was behind the scenes. Gilliam may not put up flashy statistics, but his impact on the field shows up everywhere else. He was part of a Buffalo rushing attack that became the #1 rushing offense in football during the 2025 season, helping James Cook explode into one of the league's best running backs. That is not accidental. The Patriots looked at their own offense last season and clearly identified a major weakness. Yes, the team finished inside the top 6 in rushing yards per game with 126.5 yards, but those numbers were misleading in several areas. Drake Maye contributed heavily with his mobility, and the actual running back production was not dominant enough for a playoff caliber offense. Rhamondre Stevenson only finished with around 600 rushing yards, and while Trayvon Henderson showed explosiveness, many of his biggest plays came on outside runs rather than between the tackles. There were too many moments where the Patriots struggled to create push at the line of scrimmage, especially in short yardage situations and inside the red zone. That's where the absence of a true fullback became obvious. Last season, the Patriots tried using Jack Westover in that role, but the results simply were not good enough. The run blocking grades reflected it, and you could see it during games. Too many times, Stevenson was getting hit immediately after taking the handoff because there was no lead blocker creating space in front of him. The offense lacked physicality in key moments, and it became a serious issue near the goal line. The numbers tell the story even more clearly. The Patriots converted only 51% of their red zone trips into touchdowns, ranking 24th in the NFL. That's unacceptable for a team trying to rebuild into a contender. Far too often, the offense depended on Drake Maye having to improvise or make difficult throws because the running game could not consistently win in tight spaces. And now comes Reggie Gilliam. At 6'2" and 244 pounds, Gilliam brings exactly the kind of physical presence this offense has been missing. But it's not just about size. His blocking grades compared to what the Patriots had last year are dramatically better. His run blocking ability immediately upgrades the offense, and it's one of the reasons New England gave him a multi-year contract worth serious money for a fullback. That tells you this was not some random depth signing. The Patriots have a real plan for him. What's even more fascinating is how Gilliam himself described his role in Josh McDaniels' offense. He openly said he is learning the entire offense, not just the fullback position. That matters because McDaniels has always loved versatile players who can line up everywhere, motion across formations, and create confusion for defenses. Gilliam even mentioned studying old Patriots film, specifically watching James Devlin running routes out of the backfield, and when he joked that he might be a little more agile than Devlin, you could already see the excitement about how he may be used differently in New England compared to Buffalo. That could become a huge development for Drake Maye, because now the Patriots may finally have the type of offense that can slow games down, control the line of scrimmage, establish play action, and create easier passing situations for their young quarterback. Instead of forcing Maye to carry everything with his arm, New England seems to be building an offense designed to support him physically and strategically. And honestly, this feels like one of the clearest signs yet that Josh McDaniels wants to bring back elements of the classic Patriots identity. versatility, tough football, situational football, physical running, versatile formations, fullbacks creating mismatches, an offense that forces defenses to stay disciplined every single snap. The scary part for the rest of the AFC is that this might only be the beginning, because if Reggie Gilliam truly unlocks the run game the way New England believes he can, suddenly Rhamondre Stevenson becomes more dangerous, Trayvon Henderson becomes even more explosive, the red zone offense improves, and Drake Maye starts playing with far less pressure on his shoulders. And once that happens, this offense could look completely different from what fans watched last season. So now the big question becomes, are the Patriots quietly rebuilding the old school physical identity that once made them dominant, and could Reggie Gilliam end up being the hidden piece that changes everything in 2026? What makes this entire situation even more intriguing is that the Patriots were already using fullback formations last season more than most people realized, but the production simply wasn't matching the intention. The team used 21 personnel on 15, 3% of their offensive snaps, which was actually the fourth highest rate in the NFL. That means the coaching staff already wanted to play that style of football. The problem was, the execution never consistently worked. And when you really dive into the numbers, you understand why the Patriots front office moved aggressively to get Reggie Gilliam early in free agency. The offense generated a negative EPA per play out of those fullback formations last season. In simple terms, the Patriots were losing efficiency whenever they tried to operate that part of the offense. That is a massive issue if Josh McDaniels plans to build around physical football again. It's one thing to call those formations. It's another thing entirely to have the right personnel to make them dangerous. Now, they finally believe they do, because when you compare what Gilliam brings versus what the Patriots had before, the difference is dramatic. Last season, Jack Westover struggled heavily as a run blocker, and defenses could feel it. There were times where opposing fronts completely collapsed the running lanes before the play even had a chance to develop. The Patriots became predictable near the goal line, and once teams realized New England could not consistently overpower them inside, everything became harder for the offense. That pressure eventually landed on Drake Maye, and for a young quarterback, that is not the situation you want. Too many third downs, too many red zone drives ending in field goals, too many moments where the quarterback has to create something out of nothing because the running game cannot finish drives physically. That's why this move feels bigger than just a fullback signing. It feels like the Patriots are trying to change the personality of the offense itself. And there's another detail here that Patriots fans should pay very close attention to. Reggie Gilliam does not view himself as just a blocker. During his comments to the media, he repeatedly talked about versatility. He talked about motioning around the formation, learning multiple positions, catching passes, and becoming a true offensive weapon rather than simply a lead blocker smashing into linebackers. That sounds exactly like the type of player Josh McDaniels loves to use. Think about the stress that creates for opposing defenses. If Gilliam lines up traditionally at fullback, defenses prepare for power football. But if he motions out wide, catches passes in the flat, slips into play-action routes, or becomes involved in misdirection concepts, suddenly defenses cannot simply treat him like an extra offensive lineman, and that could open the field even more for everybody else. Trayvon Henderson may end up benefiting the most from this. Last season, a lot of his explosive runs came outside because he could use his speed in space. But with a legitimate lead blocker now clearing interior lanes, Henderson may become far more dangerous between the tackles as well. Defenses could be forced to respect power runs inside while still worrying about speed to the edge. That balance is exactly what makes offenses difficult to defend. And then there's Rhamondre Stevenson. This could honestly be one of the most important seasons of his career because the Patriots are clearly trying to create an environment where he can return to being a dominant physical runner. Stevenson has always been at his best when he can build momentum downhill, break tackles, and punish defenses late in games. But last season, too many defenders were meeting him immediately after the handoff. The numbers prove it. A huge percentage of Stevenson's rushing yards came after contact because he was constantly forced to create on his own. That is exhausting for a running back over the course of a season. With Gilliam leading the way, the Patriots are hoping those tough yards become easier yards. And if that happens, the entire offense changes. Suddenly, the play-action game becomes more effective. Defenders start biting harder on run fakes. Drake Maye gets cleaner passing windows. The offense stays ahead of the chains instead of constantly fighting third and long situations. Everything becomes more controlled, more efficient, and more dangerous. That's why some people inside the organization may quietly view Gilliam as one of the most important additions of the offseason, even if casual fans overlook the move because of the position he plays. And And honestly, there's also something symbolic about this signing. For years, Patriots football was built around discipline, versatility, physicality, and situational dominance. Over time, some of that identity faded away. The offense became less intimidating physically, less consistent in short yardage situations, and less capable of controlling games at the line of scrimmage. This move feels like an attempt to bring some of that identity back. Even the references to old Patriots film matter. Gilliam watching James Devlin highlights is not random. That tells you the organization has likely already shown him examples of how they envision using him. They are not bringing him in to stand on the sideline or play 10 snaps a game. They are designing a role for him, and if Josh McDaniels fully unlocks that role, Patriots fans may end up looking back at this signing as one of the sneakiest but smartest moves of the entire rebuild. Because sometimes the biggest changes to an offense are not the flashy superstar additions everybody talks about on television. Sometimes it's the small piece that completely changes how the system functions around everybody else. And maybe that's exactly what Reggie Gilliam is about to become for New England. If this offense suddenly becomes more physical, more efficient in the red zone, and more balanced around Drake Maye in 2026, a lot of people are going to realize the warning signs were already there the moment the Patriots decided to bring the fullback position back to life. And the deeper you think about this entire offensive rebuild, the more it becomes clear that Josh McDaniels is not trying to create a modern offense that looks like everybody else in the NFL. In many ways, it feels like he's trying to recreate a version of Patriots football that made defenses miserable for 2 decades, except now it's being rebuilt around Drake Maye instead of Tom Brady. That's the part that should really grab the attention of Patriots fans, because this is not about copying the past. It's about adapting the old formula to fit a new quarterback with completely different strengths. Brady controlled defenses with timing, precision, and pre-snap adjustments. Drake Maye brings mobility, arm strength, and the ability to extend plays outside structure. If the Patriots can combine that with a physical downhill running attack, they may finally have the balanced offense they've been searching for since the dynasty era ended. And Reggie Gilliam sits right in the middle of that transition. One thing people overlook about elite offenses is how important role players are to making everything function properly. Fans usually focus on quarterbacks, wide receivers, and touchdowns, but offensive coordinators obsess over details. They obsess over angles, leverage, protection assignments, blocking consistency, short yardage efficiency, and formation flexibility. That's exactly why Gilliam matters. His presence changes how defenses line up before the snap. If defenses match with heavier personnel to stop the run, Drake Maye could get cleaner passing looks. If defenses stay lighter to defend the pass, the Patriots can attack them physically with Stevenson and Henderson. That's the chess match Josh McDaniels has always loved creating, and this is where things become dangerous if New England gets it right, because now you can start imagining an offense that controls tempo again. Long drives, exhausting possessions, physical football that slowly wears defenses down by the fourth quarter. That type of football helps young quarterbacks tremendously because it keeps them out of desperate situations. Last season, there were too many moments where the offense felt rushed, inconsistent, or dependent on individual heroics. The Patriots clearly want to reduce that volatility. They want structure. They want efficiency. They want to dictate games instead of reacting to them. And honestly, the commitment they made financially to Gilliam says a lot about how serious they are. Teams do not hand multi-year deals to fullbacks unless they genuinely believe the player will have a major role inside the offense. In today's NFL, where many franchises barely even carry a true fullback, New England intentionally invested in one early during free agency. That should immediately tell fans this was part